Hey everybody, welcome to your daily update for SOL and BTC. So another dump day. How many do we get? But I guess that's what you get with corrections. This one's been quite fast, which is interesting because it does mean that there's not a lot of resistance and it's pretty easy and quick for some of these alts to bounce back up. Other ones have built a bunch of resistance, but yeah, some of them can come back pretty quickly. Um, so looking at the liquidity, uh, the only problem I see here with this being a potential bottom is that liquidity does not look like that at all. As you can see, there's a big pile of it available on the 1 day to the downside because everyone's jumped in and started longing, and BTC is really even. So the same key numbers, like down to 105 on BTC and down to sort of like the 180s, are visible on SOL. And we've had a few people come in with shorts recently, but you can see there's not a lot of 1 day liquidity up higher on SOL, but on BTC there is. So people have always been a bit more bearish on BTC. So looking at the 7 day, the 7 day does look like, you know, we've had a decent sort of dig down into that liquidity, and most of it is aiming towards the top side. So I don't think this is the bear market, but I think that, you know, obviously there'll be a short squeeze at some point. The real question is, will they take this area down to 105, and you know, will you see another dip down here to the sort of 180 area on SOL before they go up? And there's a couple of things on the charts, and it's a prime day today, so there's only a 1 day close, which is great. Makes it nice and easy, but also means we can't get a huge amount of longer term insight. But um, there is something on the 1 day BTC chart that says that they're doing something quite sneaky and that they're going to do a dive and they're going to grab all this, which of course will mean that SOL might drop. But SOL has found some pretty good support on the SOL BTC chart, so if it does drop, it's probably not going to be as bad as what it has been during this dive. So, or during this correction, I should say. Looking at the 30-day, there's plenty to grab on the 30-day when it comes to BTC, but the levels are basically the same on SOL, and the topside levels are confluent with where I think we're going to go on the charts. So we should see a move kick off soon. I don't think this is the one. I think they've just been playing a little bit. I mean, it may be. We are in structural moves that can take us up, you know, to anything up to all-time highs or slightly, well, actually, I don't think we have a structural move to get above all-time high, but we have some trends that we potentially could target. The thing is, I think it might actually just have one more dip and flush first. So let's have a look at from the other direction. So, you know, firstly, this is very suspicious. If you had a, you know, good old cat meme. I need to get memes for these videos, but if you had a good cat meme of a cat looking suspicious, it would be sitting here with its face just staring at you right now, because it's just, you know, waddling along on top of liquidity. And this is not, you know, short-term liquidity. This is on, you know, using the indicators, and yes, it's all averaged and nothing's perfect, but this is based on a 1 hour setting versus a 1 minute setting. So this is longer term liquidity that's sitting here between 108 down to 105, and it's basically previous range liquidity, because the previous part of the ranging for BTC was below 108,350, and so we're just bouncing along on the top of that range. And if we are going to take a big push up to the upside, it is not uncommon for them to sweep the liquidity from the previous range before they go up. So it's there, and we're just bouncing along. Okay, so with SOL, that technically lines up with the 176 to 168 area, but the SOL BTC chart has flipped into strength. It would be quite hard for them to get down to that area, and so I don't think people have to worry about that. I'd hate to be wrong, but I don't think people have to worry about that at this stage. Because of that strength shift, I think you might just see that this sort of area around the 188 gets taken. and then off it might go. So there is also a daily level at 107, about 107,200 or something like that on BTC. So if it is to do a dive down, it might dive straight through that and come back up, or it might bounce on that, come up, and then go again. It's a lot of the way price moves is just to get people to actually open positions and make bad choices effectively. So we'll see. But yeah, the liquidity is there, and they've sort of just been cake building. As you can see, they did that pump up during the New York session, and everyone's chased it, and now we've started to downtrend. So the question is how far down. The breakout level for the push up was about 197, so it may come back down to 197, test that and go up again. It may not take that bottom liquidity, but just be prepared for it. Have a plan if it does. Okay, let's have a look at these charts. So SOLBTC 1-day strength, it's more or less stuck in this little wedge. So it moved yesterday. It moved the support trend. It's bounced the support trend. There is a really steep range trend that's coming down from the previous upper range, and it's in a perfect position really right now because it can open another candle on the top side of those, and then of course that gives it the option to go up. So when it can't open on top of the trend, it just doesn't have the option. But in this case, it's got the option, so that's good. If we close up here anywhere around that 18305 area, then yep, we can pretty much say yes, we're going to go up. Will it come down, retest, or do something else first? Yeah, it could. That might be that final sweep that we get, but it's looking positive for a move up. So looking at the weekly, the weekly has been in this dive of the upper range trend, and it's got 2 days to go. So yeah, the bungee cord effect should be kicking in right now, and it should be trying to pull itself back up above that trend. So that's sort of confluent with everything doing what it should be doing. And at this stage, as long as the weekly gets back up above 19529, it's pretty good. So that's what we're aiming for. And the monthly rejection, so it's hit the trend. It's come all the way back to the range trend. It has hit the break level. Now it's not a hard closed break level. So just the one thing I'd say, looking a little bit further ahead about this, is that we may come down and actually test that again. So if this closes up, so pretty much closing over that 18541 for the month, we may then actually have a little bit of a dip down and then a bounce. So it's whether we get, this is looking very far ahead, obviously, for the general terms of what we trade as day traders, scalpers, etc. But we may get a flush today, a move up, a close up for the month, and then a little dip down into the start of next month or something like that, and then a pump. But it's really, this is about price difference between BTC and SOL. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Looking at the strength assets, they have started to reject off the range trends, so that's great. So it would be really bullish for alts if this actually got down underneath the 65.09% and closed the day down there. Even more bullish if it gets down below the trend, which is sort of around that 64 point. To be really securely under it, you'd have to be about 64.87. So that's good. We wanted to see this rejection. Otherwise, the alts were just going to suffer. And looking at the weekly is rejecting off the upper trend and it's rejecting off the downtrend. So as long as this closes, ideally we want it to close below this candle over here, because this candle could become a backside hold, and then it can bounce off that. So if we close the week under about 64.83, that's pretty good. Although the one thing I don't like about this is that you have created an origin level here at 60. So if this candle closes as a yellow candle, you have created an origin level at 63.76. And yeah, that would be that would be interesting once it comes down and hits that. So it could actually bounce off that, break the trend, and go up and test these upper levels. So probably one thing just to keep an eye on, just in case suddenly we get some kind of shock news, flash dump or something. So the other thing it can do is actually just come all the way back, close down. So if alts really take off before the end of the week and this ends up closing down, then crisis averted, no origin level, looking good. Alt season continue. Okay, and the monthly is still doing what it's trying to do, which is pull back up. I mean, this could get really bullish if it was to close down with a flat bottom in the month, and then the trend would move. It'd be on the wrong side of the trend. It would fall off a cliff. That would be great. That's the kind of thing we want to see if you want to see 20% day after day after day on altcoins. Closing like this is semi-bullish because it will create a downtrend, and kind of what would actually be a little better would be going up a little bit more, creating a longer wick, pulling back down, and closing with a body that is quite thin, creating the downtrend and rejecting off the trend and then falling down. That would actually be quite, that'd be quite bullish. More of a sustained continuous move down, which means more of a sustained move up in altcoins. So that's what we're looking at there. Okay, so over to the totals. So the 1 day is going to maybe create an interior trend, this line here. And you sort of want that to probably close up a bit higher so that it can get on the other side of these trends and then have a good chance to actually go up. And that just means we can have more money inflow, basically. So it hasn't, as long as it closes over 3.45T for the day, then it's back up inside this range, which is positive. I'm trying to see what's rejecting off. It seems to be rejecting off a level in there. No, must just be rejecting off the backside of the range. So it's rejecting off the backside of the range, but as long as it doesn't close down for the day, then it's not an actual hard close of the range. So yeah, going up would be better. Getting back up inside the range, which is about that 3.5T for the day, would be really good. But overall, that's not a bad close. So the support trend is quite a way up there. And really, you just don't want to see any outflow days, for the next few days. You want this to get itself back up and above that trend and go, or at least get back up into some of these higher ranges. We do have a origin support level down here at 3.38 still. So if we do get some final dump, final flush or something like that, what you would see on this chart is you'd probably see it close under these trends, the new one and the existing one, bounce off the back of the trend and come down to this 3.38 level. That could be the final flush. And then as you can see, that's the level that's supported the entire market from the get-go. So that was the all-time high support level. So if we hit that one more time, we can probably go back up and hit another all-time high. But you'd still want to keep an eye on this 3.67 to 3.79 area, because if this is a bear market, that would be your dead cat bounce sort of bear market rally, and then you'll never get past this upper trend, which depending on how long it takes to get there, that upper trend is sort of sitting up around that 3.8 level. Okay, looking at the weekly's pulling back up inside the older trend, so that's fine. That looks good. It didn't hit the break level, that looks good. It didn't hit the previous range break level, that looks good. And we have got the breakout level at the top here. So based on the weekly, if we can get this week to get above that 3.78 and give us a close, we can go off to price discovery. So that's it's looking good. As long as we don't break these levels, and I mean, it's best just not to touch them. That's great. If you've never touched them, you do not have a problem. But we can still touch them, and then move up and close back inside, then you can have a couple of weeks up, and that's what an origin level effectively is. So, but at this stage, it's really good. We just haven't touched them. So, looking at the monthly, we want the monthly to close up above 3.5T. That will create a hold level, and then we can use that hold level to break the upper trends. However, there is a 3.28 level that needs to be retested. The retest would typically come after the close of, or a hard close of an accumulation candle. So you might see one of those levels where if it closes up, creates a hold level, you see almost like a dump through the hold level, like it was going to fail, but it's doing a retest of the 3.28, and then it will just pump. So it's sort of similar, like it's a fractal way of them basically sweeping the lower range liquidity and then going to the upside. So overall, that's not the end of the world. It's got 4 days to get better, and then it might do a sweep and go. So, right, daily on BTC. So this is the bit that makes me not trust it. So we've rejected off the break level. We're too far away from that that downtrend to really break it. Can't break it with this candle unless this candle goes up by the end of the day. And we haven't actually bounced off the range trend that it created. So this range trend was created on actually no, that's not the range trend. Sorry, my bad. No, it doesn't have a range trend. Okay, so it doesn't have that support. Eek, that gets worse. So if this rejects off there and continues to reject off the back of this trend, yeah, it's probably going to come down. And that would be that 107 level that we keep thinking about. It doesn't have a range trend. SOL has a range trend. So yeah, pretty much what I thought was that SOL built a range trend, and I actually thought BTC did one, but there's been a lot going on lately. Very tired. And yeah, I thought it was going to bounce that range trend and go up and get back into the upper level, but I guess it can't bounce something that isn't there. So when we get to SOL in a second, you'll see what could have happened and how that affected, that fast move up we saw on SOL. But as it stands, I'd actually say BTC now has even more reason to come down. So if this wants to get bullish, it needs to get up here and close over that 110 area. And then it will be on the right side of the trend to push up to the 111,900 hold. But yeah, as it currently stands, suspicious. It looks like it might go down. Okay, looking at the weekly. So the weekly is bouncing up off its trend. So it hasn't hard closed the interior downtrend. There's no reason why that couldn't push down and go back up again. As long as it does it in the next couple of days, as long as it's back up in the next couple of days, that's all that really matters. And looking at the monthly, the only really important thing with the monthly is we do not want the monthly close to be under 108, 208.3, because if that happens, then we lose the uptrend, or the interior uptrend, which means it needs to find some form of support. It would also be very healthy, like long term, if it came back and tested this 102.721, but it's not. I wouldn't have it as an expectation, because if this is the final stage, let's say market theory exists, it's all correct, even though every time is apparently different. If it does exist and it doesn't retest that level, that's just part and parcel with the fact that blow off tops always have reasons to come down. So yeah, that's so we may not retest that 102.721 level, but we might. But yeah, we just don't want to close the month under 108.208. We can dip, we can go back up, but yeah, that's how that is. So let's have a look at SOL. Okay, so SOL did create this range trend coming through here. Now, what I thought, and probably said in yesterday's video, is that we would actually dive that range trend to take that liquidity that was in that sort of 188 area, but instead it just tapped it and bounced. So good entry if you wanted 100x entries to the cent. Don't do that though, because sometimes they do dive. But the it's gone up and basically hit this hold over here. So this is a front side hold of this range that's in here, and that's basically 202.259. If it stays where it is right now, it's about 50-50 what it can do, because it'll be above the support trend, but it will be kind of on or below the downtrend. So you're going to get this thing where one's going to want to push it down, one's going to want to push it up. It's a really bad place to basically close a candle if you want to put a bet in and know where it's going. Now, if it comes down below that sort of 197 area, then it's going to be below the support trend again, and that would probably mean a dive or a rejection back to find support to try and break this trend. If it goes up and closes, really it doesn't have to be too far up, sort of about 201. I mean, over 202, 259 would be really bullish, but if it went up to say 201.6 or something like that and closed, and I think 201.8 was the target level that was in play during all of this. So if it gets up to about that level and opens on the other side of the trend, it could come down, test the trend, and then go up. And there'd be absolutely no guarantees at that point that it's going to come and grab that liquidity down there, because it would just be a pretty big thing for it to have to dive through all that support and go. So I suppose what we're looking for on this is closing under 190 is basically certain death. Below 189, etc., is certain death, because that will be below the range trend, and then it's really going to tank. Closing above 198.471 is really not that bad, but it does leave the candle in a state where it could do a full-blown dive for the next 24 hours and then come back up. Closing anything over about 201, really well. Closing over 202.5 would be really bullish, and sort of anything in between those numbers, as long as it's on the other side of the downtrend, allows it to sort of still do a sweep if it wants to, but more likely it just goes up. So that's what the daily looks like. Weekly, so the weekly is not in a great spot, so it's basically got 2 days to get back up above 208. That would be a good start. Super bullish if it gets back up above 226, and that's the one we want to see, because 226 is the Trump trend. It's the trend that every time that thing has been hit, it's either created a ginormous sell-off or a ginormous pump. We want to be back up above 226, and if we can do that in 2 days, 3 hours, that's bullish in my opinion, and I think that's that definitely could lead to the final leg or a substantial move up. Okay, and the monthly, so 4 days to go on the monthly. Yeah, monthly close, it's a tough one really, because if the weekly close is going to be good, this needs to be up higher than it is now. But it would almost be better if the monthly closed down. But it would also be better if it actually had a wick that was longer to the downside. So yeah, they're certainly not making it easy. See, if that goes up even a little bit, then it becomes positive and you don't have a support trend. If it came down and tested this bottom level, which is a big dive, you sort of don't really want it to go there. Yeah, it's a tough one, the monthly. I mean, it could just flip super bullish. If it closes anything over 234 or 243 for the month, then ultimately that's just super bullish, and it won't need the support trend in that case. But it does mean when the monthly eventually fails, it will be a much bigger drop down to where the actual trend is. So yeah, Also, it'll be a hard close of, yeah, it'll be a hard close of the interior range trend if it closes up as well. It's the first time it's ever done that, so also very bullish, but you could see a retest of the range trend down at 177. So there is all that liquidity around 177. So pretty much what you really want to see for the month is to close up over these higher levels. And we have those levels on the daily. We have a frontside hold level that will be targeted if we get over the daily trend, and that's up around 238. It doesn't take much more than to get over 243. So it's, yeah, really for the monthly, the most bullish thing would be to be up over these top levels, and then it's just going to go and attack this upper trend, which is about 302. So if it's still a little bit tricky to take out a high lev position with a tight liquidation level if this closes up for the month, but not above those high levels, because you've got a pretty good chance of it coming down, retesting the range trend, then bouncing. And actually, the whole cycle at that point has to be longer, because it would take time then to get over these upper levels and hard close and go up. So, yeah, maybe we just pump. All right, let's have a look at these others. Where are we? NA. So for the month, yeah. So NA is looking really, really bullish. It didn't even pull back quite the same as a lot of the others. So for the month, we just wanted to close over 0.5693. If it doesn't and it takes a dump, then you just long this whole candle down on the bottom side here at about 30 cents. But I think it's going to break up, actually, because we're looking at a break up. I've got a better chart for this, but we're looking at a break of that trend if we close up today. So that should bring it up to target the level in there, which is the front side of that hold in that range. So that's about 0.6173. So it looks like it's going to start stepping through the ranges if it closes up today. So what's we got? Well, that recovered. So that looks like it's World Liberty Finance has gone back up. It's tested the backside of the range trend. It's created this hold level. That hold level has trend support. Yeah, there's a pretty good case to long this if it comes back down, to that 19-cent area. If it does a sweep today, a final sweep for liquidity, and this hits that area, it's a pretty good case to long it. We haven't hit the monthly break, and we haven't hard closed under that monthly break. So yeah, this is looking bullish. We tested that. The next step will be to break through that trend and test this 0.2249. So it may get back up over the top of that range trend. If it does, it will have a bit of a battle in this little box here, and then if it breaks the trend, off it goes. So that's looking good. What I'd suggest is just, if you want to take a trade on this, just put an alert on this level. Cross it down, put it on the trend. Okay. And change this upper trend to greater than once per bar close. Okay, so if a day closes over that trend, you'll get a notification. Okay, now what's next? ZEUS looks like it wants to die still. I mean, it may just come down and tap this reverse trend and then push up. It may close slightly up for the week anyway and be over top of the trend, so it may not die, but it's doing what you'd expect it to do. You had a range trend through here, it's rejected off the backside. It's also the backside of this origin level that probably created the first scam pump. Oh yeah, there you go. So release, liquidate all the chasers, shill. Right, origin level creation, accumulation by the big players, origin level creation, pump up into them, sell off everything as they shill, and then down again. that's why this one is kind of on the fence, because you don't know whether they've bought back in here and whether they're going to give it another one of these pumps, or whether they are just done and dusted with this and it's going to zero. So I don't know. It's probably good from an educational perspective to understand the difference in structure between tokens, but that hasn't been hit. That hasn't been hit. There's a lot of levels in here that have never been tested. Doesn't seem like it could have a really big pump, but it has created this weekly range and it hasn't hit that break level, and it's got a reverse trend, so it might be okay, but don't know. Yep, Cook just took off, so tapped the origin level and just shot straight up through the trend, hit the hold level. Damn, I sold that yesterday because it was looking kind of bearish. Could have kept it. Oh well, it is what it is. I think I still made 100% on it from where I bought it, so it's life. As far as this goes, where would your next level be? So you're looking to see if it closes over top of the break level, which is 0.012338. If it does, then off to the next level, because I think it's actually come all the way through. Ooh, maybe not quite. Yeah, maybe not quite. So if it closes over the break level, next point would be to hit the backside of this range, and yeah, it's pretty free to go after that. So I don't think this has had... Yeah, so this has kind of had its original. It's had that. It's had this huge accumulation period. You can kind of see just when you look at this sort of volume, you can see it in there. And yeah, I think this might be... The little scammers might still pump this thing up to the sky yet. So, okay. Hype is getting... So Hype's gone up, it's hit the hold level, it's hit the backside of the trend. It's not losing the trend on the daily today, so this is not too bad. It's back up inside the daily range. If it gets one more day to the upside, it's going to create an origin support level at 42.99 cents. So that means it doesn't necessarily have to go to these 30 levels anymore. Like the 38 level could just be left alone and it could just go up. But if it does close a day to the downside under that trend, then yes, it'll come back to this 38.52 level. The real bullish thing would be if it got back up inside this sort of wedge here and got back up over 46 before the end of the day. If it did that, then it's going to bounce off the trend and travel up. So yeah, keep an eye on that one. This could be a sweep. You look back at these things later, and you look at a chart and you go, oh yeah, that was the sweep of all the trend liquidity before it went off to an all-time high. So that could be what you're seeing here. There's plenty of volume. It looks like it's swept. It hasn't hard closed the trend with a blue candle, full body under. So yeah, if it gets back up and over top of that, yeah, that could go. Disappointing, say. So it's down. So for the monthly, we're just looking for this to get back up over and be available to basically break the trend and be over the 29309 level. Also, if it does have some kind of final dip before the pump, then looking to buy at that 21218 level. It's got... I haven't done much with that. Took a 2-hour trade on this yesterday, which was just a scalp. Definitely could have kept it open, but you don't know. So that was the entry there. So there it was. So, and just took it back to the trend, which so these are backside fib scalps. They are just a really good way to print money effectively. If you this one was so far left behind by all the ranging that it was very, very safe. The hit rate on these things is good, and all you do is you just TP them either at the 1618 or at the trend, whatever. Use your fib levels. So in this case, I TP'd slightly early at the trend just because I didn't know it was going to break, but it has broken it and off it's going. So don't know where that's going to stop actually, looking at this. It's broken that. What do we got? Let's create another hold level. It's used, I think it's used that hold level. It hasn't. Yeah. Does it work? No. Okay, so this is actually quite bullish structure. It's creating supports, not really even having to use them. So it might be coming up for a range retest. Yeah, might be looking for another all-time high. That's interesting. So broke the downtrend, hard closed, went up. This is another type of trade you can take too, is that you mark out, but you need to know how to actually find the right trend, or this can get really bad really fast. So, oh, there you go, range trend. That's what it targeted. Range trend, target. So let's see, that must mean that, and that's actually why it went higher. This is the correct trend through here. So I shouldn't have been so lazy. So I thought this was the trend, because a lot of people just take the two highest candles, and I thought that was the trend also because I saw that sweep there. So I probably should have been a little bit less lazy and looked at it from something earlier, and then I could have realized that I could have actually got my full swing. Also, the whole thing about, no one understands this, by the way. It's like, when we say we take these fib trades and everyone goes, how does that work? We don't know how it works. It just works. So for some reason, this number, based on this type of anchoring, leads to where the trend actually is the majority of the time. And the reason these trades will fail is that there are instances where the trend is actually down below the 1618, so then it fails. But yeah, that wasn't the trend. That was the trend. That was the sweep of the trend. And then they swept it some more because they were really greedy and obviously getting people to buy into the tops. Shill, and then dump. That's pretty much how it works. Finds support, comes back up, breaks the trend, targets the range. That's us. Okay, cool. I don't think we've got anything else to talk about today, do we? No. Done. Okay. Oh well, hopefully you got something out of that. Bit of education and a bit of a daily update. And there was something else. Oh yeah, got over 500 subs. Thank you. So the new goal is 1,000. And if we get to 2,000, we'll make it. Sorry, if we get to 1,000, we'll make it 2,000. We'll just keep on going, eh? All right, we'll catch you later. Cheers. Bye.